What's up, Rockstars? Today I have Harakiri. The prototype is finally here. There is something special in here that I have not seen and you have not seen, but I was told it was big. So, excited to open this up. Stay tuned for that, and let's go and jump into it. Thank you to my channel sponsor, Into the AM. As a company that believes hard work and a great product is a proper way to conduct business, I am delighted to have them as part of the channel. They have some of the coolest graphic t-shirts around and an absolute best fit and feel that has continually exceeded my expectations. With new shirts arriving all the time and other products like boxers, hats, and even a monthly shirt club, I wholeheartedly recommend them to you. Check out the link in my description of this video for an exclusive 10% off everything they sell. Now, as always, while I struggle to unbox any kind of thing that I'm unboxing, you would think I'd be good at this, I would like to thank my patrons and YouTube members. It is through their financial support that this channel is possible. They allow me to make the videos that I want at the quality and quantity that I make them, so that I can make sure that I'm doing stuff that I think you guys need and not what some company needs. If you appreciate that level of independence and all the content that I make, and even if it's just $1 a month, I would greatly appreciate it. It helps out a ton. It may mean a little to you, but it's a lot to me. And there's a link down below to that Patreon. There's a lot of cool rewards as well, of course. But if not, that's fine too. Even just a like on the video lets me know that, again, I'm making these videos for you guys so that it was something you liked to see, wanted to see, and want to see more of. At the end of the day, you guys are driving this channel much more than even I am. So, appreciate that. Now, again, like I said, I got plenty of time to talk about whatever I want here. I think I'm almost through. I swear, sometimes we package these things like bombs. Okay, alright, come on. Oh, I feel like we're so close. Is there like a thing here? What am I? Okay, alright. Step one done. Of course, I'm right here unboxing it right out of the box. So you can see me pull it out. You can see my initial reaction here. But then we're going to go top down and go into some really gritty details about everything. Oh, I critique it more than I probably should. That's just kind of how I do things. Alright. It looks like it might all just be in one box. No, there's definitely something else here. Okay. So, we got... Oh, jeez. Oh, yeah. Alright. Well, just, I think, the one box. Here we go. There it is. Already a big box. Oh, heavy, too, just as a prototype. Alright. So, that's all there was, by the way. Okay, why don't you say we open this up? Alright, before I open this up, a little forewarning. My cat is currently getting a bath, and we have a pug that believes he's the dad of every animal, and so he's very worried about the cat, because the cat's acting like he's dying. It's the one you see on the back of my chair all the time, Jasper. So, just FYI, if you hear any barking, that's probably what you hear. Okay, so I haven't opened this up at all. I did notice one thing, like when I actually sat it down here and looked at it to film. Harakiri here, right? And then you get the Blades of Honor down on the side, which I thought was kind of interesting, but not on these sides either, just here. So kind of interesting to kind of have a subtitle, but for the most part, just be name branding Harakiri, which is I think how all of us talk about it anyway at this point. So I don't know whose fault it is, but that's fine. As I've said before, this is something that would instantly draw me towards this game when I walked into a friendly local gaming store. Ironic because this is going to be Kickstarter only, but I must say very attractive art. I like the kind of gray tone that it actually has. You can see it's almost kind of snowy perhaps or something. But then you have a splash of color here with the yellow, which is a smart use. And then just the red eyes and this big hulking guy that's so much bigger than this guy. Just super, super cool. When you see the severed heads and stuff like that, it kind of gives you a sense this is going to be a violent and a game when it comes to stuff like that. So that's really cool. I'm going to gently look on the back to see what's on the back, to see if there's anything there. There's nothing. It's just white. So nothing interesting there. I won't tip it over then. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. Oh, we got the box fart. That was the box, I promise. All right, and lots of padding. That's good to see. I love this kind of stuff, by the way. Like, kids play with it all the time. And then they tear it to pieces and gets everywhere. But no, I dig it. That's a good use of spare foam. All right. And we got one layer with some minis. Exciting. And then we got a much bigger... Ooh, okay. All right. With a whole bunch of minis. I'm going to try... and I want to do the minis at the very end because I take so long on them. I want to just kind of go through everything else first. So let's go ahead and lift this up very carefully. Very carefully. Okay. There we go. There we are. Okay. Whew. Now let's focus on all of this. Oh my goodness, we got a ton. Okay. Let's see here. We got very useful. Thank you for the labels, by the way. Nobody used these lines ever. This is nice. Normally they're quite well grouped, but then I don't know, okay, which one went in which. And I mean, they're all kind of identical as well, but we're going to go ahead and set all these small tokens to the side. I probably won't open them all. I'll look at tokens to kind of look at general quality of the prototype, which is, of course, just a prototype, and then maybe size of different ones and some artwork. But a lot of the art you can see through the bag, so it's you know, it is what it is. All right, let's see, lots of cards. We'll do different cards. Looks like we got some gems, some more cards here, some, oh, tiny dice. Interesting, interesting. Okay. And there, I think that's all the bags. My goodness, let's look at some of this bigger stuff first. I'm going to actually put the bag, I'm going to shove them over here very carefully. Very carefully. There we go. Okay. And let's look at this. All right. So you can probably hear my dog now freaking out. That poor cat. We only bathe him like every so often. It's pretty rare, but he's getting a little stinky. Okay, we got the Blood Oni here, the Nue, and the Undertaker. Very cool. I have heard about this boss, or a mini boss or something like that. Very cool. When I talked about the cemetery and I talked about menace tokens, he came into play there. Very cool. He can like throw his casket at people and shove people inside of it and do all sorts of stuff. Is there a back to these? Let's see. There is a back. I don't know if there's any difference. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Huge growing hate. Huge growing hate. Nope. Same amount of dice as well. I think it's probably about the same. 31, 4. 31, 4. 2, 2, 4. Yep. Okay. So they look the same to me, as far as I can tell. Now, of course, prototype printing, but I do notice there's a little bit of color difference there. This is darker. Though, again, that could be on purpose too, but I think... See, that's pretty much the same. So it's just this guy who has a little bit lighter color by the looks of it. A little bit more brown. But, you know, again, they are different. And notice, actually, the style's a little different too. Well, no, I guess not. It's just he has art on the bottom, and then these guys do not. Is I think, the actual difference there. So, but it looks like we got their health, their movement, their range, their defense, and then their armor by the looks of it. And then a whole bunch of stuff out there. I've talked to you guys about that, so we're going to go ahead and move off of that. Move on to some hero boards. Now, these are, in the prototype, double the size, right? So dual layer boards here, so you can put in those tokens and they kind of stay put. This, instead of having a whole bunch of different ones, is just kind of a slider, so you'll be able to slide it around a little bit by the looks of it. And then it looks like you'll probably slot in your cards here, and so you'll put them there. But the art keeps going off of that. Kind of interesting. It'll be interesting to see how that looks like with the art on it. Color coordinated though. So we got green, we got purple. Then on the back is a little bit about them. Look at that. So that's always nice. I actually really appreciate that. Always a little nice to kind of have a little bit of story to your character. And then we have red here with Karu. And where's everybody's favorite? Where's my favorite? Wouldn't that be ironic if I didn't get him? Here he is. And Akira. Interesting anime, also interesting character for sure. Can't wait to read about him. Maybe it'll talk about how he went blind like that. And his color is like gray or black or whatever, which is interesting. It's not a color at all. Okay, let's see, we got some more. These are just the like regular bad guys.
are in here. Oh. Though it looks like they follow pretty much the same structure, they're just lower numbers and lower amount of dice for the most part. But as you can see, got a kind of a selection of them here. So that'll be kind of interesting, especially fighting like ghosts and mythical stuff like that. I'm really looking forward to that. These are smaller cards as well. These aren't quite as big. I think the main difference, let me actually grab one, for size is, well, they have to have like cards here by the looks of it, and they have these things here. That being said, if we think about table space, this is still quite large, right? There's a whole lot of, like that's obviously bigger, right? So this one kind of cuts them off, right? And this one shows the whole thing. So, but I imagine you only have one, maybe two of those out at once. But again, I'll let you guys know where it's at currently in table space. Now we have game tiles. And this is kind of the dungeon crawl portion of things. So you can kind of see here. And notice there's not a whole lot of like tokens or anything like that. And ideally, you don't have to put a whole bunch either. This is the same. I know sometimes they'll have a day and night version, but my understanding is like that could be a point of interest, or this could be a point of interest. But it should be obvious where things are. Like if you look at the cemetery here, you might be able to interact with the lit ones. Right? But then obviously these unlit ones you wouldn't. Or maybe there's something to do with the altar there. Or in this one, perhaps you can interact with the kind of the cross bolts and cannons and stuff like that up there. So you can naturally kind of go up and know where everything is based off the art is the idea, which I dig. So that is that. And there are different sizes. So here's a smaller one, kind of a connecting piece perhaps. Okay, and then we have the actual game board. You guys saw this in my last video, so I'm not going to punch it out too much, because, again, you've already seen it. What I will say, though, is that it is quite big. Alright, hold on a second here. Alright, it's actually not terrible. Oh my goodness. Okay, try not to hit the microphone more than anything. I know that can be annoying. There we go. Okay, so there is the game board. It's actually not as big as I was, I think, probably making it out to be, but it is, you know, quite large, quite spacious, which helps with the kind of locations in between a little bit. Yeah, it looks definitely great print quality already. This is nice and thick, and even this like glue job here is quite good. The seams here seem to be holding up fairly well. Nothing like peeled or stretched or anything like that. So honestly, this is already a great board. I've had worse. My copy of Nemesis came with a worse board than this, so I've had full production quality stuff come worse. The box itself, which again, prototype, you'll notice there's a little bit of a ding here. But otherwise, actually, the glue was good, and it's a good thickness, and it tends to hold itself pretty well. I was impressed. Okay, let's look at some baggies and then some minis. Why don't we do that? Let me organize a little bit here. All right. You know, organize as much as I do. You guys know how that works. Okay, so we got these. These are pretty standard stuff. I'm not too concerned about this. Let's zoom in. There we go. That's probably good. Anyway, I'm not too concerned about the gems. You guys know how, I mean, this is like, you got them in Batman, you got them in everything. So, market cards. Let's get the cards. Let's kind of do that, because I want to look at every size card they have to kind of get a general feel. And also maybe how many decks there are, right? That can be kind of helpful. There's certainly no shortage of them. All right, I think that's it. So for small cards, you have a small deck of Oracle cards, at least again prototype. Maybe there's more. You zoom out slightly, you guys. There we go. Then we got the market cards. That's your biggest stack, and then you have your initiative cards. So this would be for all the enemies, stuff like that. Definitely going to be bigger if they do stretch goals, add-ons, stuff like that. For the different characters and stuff, but you probably wouldn't have the whole deck on the table. But overall, and then the IA Oni, I'm assuming this is actually going to be an AI for the kind of the artificial intelligence of how the behavior deck essentially. That's it for the small ones. It looks like these are all the same. Is that bigger? No, I don't think that's big. Okay, yeah, so they're all the same size. So we got the Shogun Influence cards. If you recall, as you go up in that track on the right, you'll have the different things happen depending on the the kind of how far you are in it. The travel event cards, every time you travel, you either get a green or a red, depending on if it was safe or not. Again, link down below to my details video where I kind of go over a lot of this. You have your Kami card, you know, like you could be a follower of Izanami or whatever. This takes place, especially if you enter like the Harakiri God mode or Kami mode here, right? So there's different stuff like that you can do. Then there's the quest cards that you'll kind of lay out and have to kind of go about the quests, and then you can either do good or do bad, and you read an event, you know, depending on that. And then you have the expiration event cards. So these are like little sleeved things. So you don't know what's in there, but as you go into the village, once you first do that, you'll reveal it, and that'll kind of tell you about it. That's where that menace token comes into play too. You don't know which one has that definition. And we will open some of these up. I'll look at this one because of the envelope. And why don't we look at a travel card just to kind of look at thickness. Because I don't want to actually open any of these up. Okay, and then for small ones, and this one actually came with a token as well. So it looks like this is a generic token by the looks of it. If you recall, there was 3 of those on all of those. So that's kind of the boss token, more or less. You can kind of see him there. I like him. He's cool. And not too many, by the way, but a fair amount. So you lay down 2 on there. So you don't know which 2 you're going to get necessarily, but you're going to have 2. Okay, then we have the initiative cards, which just kind of tell you what order everybody goes in. Pretty straightforward stuff there. Market cards, same thing. You buy stuff for the price, and you can sell it and whatnot. And then the oracle cards, which are I actually don't remember what these were for, but I remember they're for something. I'm sure I will learn it. They have the yin and yang koi kind of sign on there. So let's go ahead and take a look-see at how these kind of operate. So when I was on the Tabletop Simulator version, I didn't know if this was just an overlay or like a card on top, but no, it's an actual kind of pocketed thing. So what you would do is, I'm going to hold it this way on purpose so I don't see it either, is you kind of take it out and reveal it as you get to that tile. So you don't know exactly what the cemetery holds for you, but it's going to have information, instructions, and different variables depending on where you're at and you know, kind of what you've done, right? So that's kind of how that operates. I'll pick out a card, like I said, the travel card, to kind of get a sense of general thickness and, you know, stuff like that. Feel for the cards. And again, of course, this prototype, but can kind of tell you where they're at. Glean something from it, I'm sure. Okay, so I can tell you right now, they feel fairly plasticky. Definitely have a little bit of a spring back to it. Doesn't stay too much. Smooth edges, so it doesn't. You don't get that kind of paper feel when it's cut. And a little bit of a shine, as you can see. And the size is great. Like, it just feels like a good size, right? Like holding it like this, quite good. So happy with that. A little thin, perhaps, but maybe just slightly. Or maybe just slightly a little too bendy. But also, again, it's a prototype. Okay. And even if not, I'd be fine with those anyway. Let's look at a small card. Let's go and look at we'll look at some market cards anyway, so you can kind of get a sense of the items in the game. That'd be kind of useful, wouldn't you say? All right. You can see right now we got red, green. So these all just marked over different tiers. Doesn't look like it. Okay, we're going to zoom in a little bit to look at the cards. There you go. So, again, size-wise, very nice. It seems a little bit bigger than Zombicide small ones, which I actually appreciate. Those are really small, so I'm okay with that. And actually, at this size, the thickness seems totally fine, right? Because it's not as, you know, there's not as much space between the edges. It's a little bit more firm. But as you can see how the art kind of looks like, and the UI kind of minimalist here. I can see that purple just fine, which is kind of nice. Sometimes that can be a little hard to see. Coloration, especially in prototypes, often is a little dark. So I don't know if this is darker than it should be or not. They would be able to answer that. I wouldn't. Got the Tengu's mask with the typical horn and, or nose, sorry, and horns and red skin. Daimyo's emblem. Shinobi's gauntlets. Magic pumpkin. I mean, why not? Speaking of which, I mean, that doesn't look like a pumpkin, but whatever. Sacred water. Lots of those. Some sake. A lot of that. Grasshopper spell. Some kind of, maybe another spell. It allows you to reroll one die, which is kind of nice. It's consumable, which means you discard it when you use it. Got some poison, some eggs. That's fun. Magic incense. Some hammer to repair your armor. Very helpful. Shikigami's spell. So I like the spells that are coming out of these. That's kind of cool. I dig that. This is interesting because that's one of those enemies. So it's like you can almost get poison from it, perhaps. Demon Mask, Feather Cape, Healing Potions, a huge healing potion. Eagle Spell, Hermit's Potion. Reroll one die up to 2 times for a stat roll. Explosive Ball, an Artisan's Hammer. It repairs a little bit better. Some berries, a big magic pumpkin, an Oration Necklace, Blessed Kokishi. Whole bunch of stuff here. So a lot of kind of, looks like a wide variety of cards, but you can kind of get a sense of the art style. Very much just like the cover art. It's kind of all the same when it comes to that. So you either like the art style or you don't. I personally like it, but if you don't, you're not going to escape it. It's not one of those things where the box art looks different than the game. What you see is what you get. Which again, I think is pretty cool. All right, let's look at some tokens here. It looks like we have some square tokens. We have some round tokens. Looks like we have some dials. We have some trays. And it looks like we also have, no, that's still round. Okay, so let's start with the simple ones, damage, and go from there. And then after this, our dice and minis. So quite thick, which I like. A little bit of sponginess, but not actually, it's quite firm, but there is a little bit of give there. Perhaps either average or above average when it comes to that of the games that I typically back, which ideally are fairly high quality. Tags are present, but again, I also didn't punch out. And again, prototype, you have the 1 and the 3 on there, so double-sided, have different values. I am assuming others probably just repeat, just repeat so like these right here, right, are on the back as well as the front. So, but otherwise, nice and smooth on the side. I like that. And they all tend to have this darker ring around it. So do you see how this kind of colored ring? And you'll see that kind of throughout, which I think is actually quite nice. So you get that darker ring, but then a lighter for the image. So the image pops out better, which I appreciate. And they do that on, it looks like just about all of them, even like the ones that are just like icons, you still have that ring of color around it. Kind of interesting to do that. All right, but those seem nice. Let's look at some kind of funky shaped ones. See if there's any overcutting or anything like that. So sometimes they'll, based off of how they're cutting it, it'll like cut into here, right? But I'm not seeing that at all. It actually looks quite smooth and nice. You can see, let me get that on focus there, the layer line there where they were kind of smashed together. But again, obviously prototype, of course. Coloration, the red looks nice. I like that they added the kind of the drop shadow into there a little bit, so you can see the shadow on this side, like the light's coming in from this area. But it gives it a nice definition. Sometimes they just do like red on tan or something like that. And it can be a little difficult to see. Additionally, there's a lot of black down here, which is kind of interesting. A little bit over there. It's like it doesn't quite match the printout. And that may just be a early print thing. I'm not sure. Otherwise, that looked good. All right, let's look at some dials or overlays or just stuff with holes in them. I think a lot of the money systems use that, perhaps. It looks like that's exactly what this is. Yep. So this is not actually like an overlay where you're trying to like a dial or anything. This is just the general shape of it, which again, actually kind of cool, kind of fancy. I would think they're going to do a metal version of these. I it just seems kind of like a given. There's another one in here. Let me get that as well. So here's your one. You got the little square inside. Inside looks good. There's a little bit of a tag, but it's not too much or anything like that. And there is a little bit of a shine as it bends down as the thing kind of, obviously the machine presses into it like that. So you don't see that here. Whoop, on the back, which it is double-sided. You'll see it goes flat, right? But then here it'll actually bend down a little bit. So you get a little bit of a shine, a little bit of a ring around there a little bit. And you'll see that on all of them. They're all kind of like that. But yeah, nice clean shapes. They look good. Definitely fancy with like the artwork on it, which is really cool. And they're different sizes too. So not just shapes, but it's also sizes, as you can see right there. So it goes from the larger it is, the more it's worth, which is also kind of helpful. And different colors. There's kind of this almost copperish brown, and then the tan and the gold. So very cool. And then actually, I'm not going to put all this in the bag. I'm just going to shove it like that. I'll do that off camera. You guys don't want to see that. All right, last one. Oh my gosh, we're so close to dice and minis. I am excited. All right, so this is the overlays. Gosh, where are those cards? Let me get one of the player boards here. Let's go for whichever one I can grab. This one. These go like this. So you would have a stack of these, and then you would put your cube, or your die, sorry, on that spot. So that's kind of that. And now, at least with this one, there is a little bit of it being larger, right? You gotta see there just a little bit, not a whole lot. Kind of makes sense because these are smashed together, whereas this is now a loose one on top. It seems to go pretty good. It does grip that side quite a bit because it's like rough edge to rough edge. There's a little bit of like, you may be able to hear it, a little bit of grinding there. But yeah, that's exactly how that looks. It's very cool. So we'll block the art, obviously. Oh, come on now. No spoilers. Oh no. Well, I spoiled it. You can heal. Oh no, somebody's being able to heal. Anyway, as you can see, it'll block the art a little bit too. But that's that. So get to these dice. I'll place one in there. And then minis. Alright, so it looks like we got several different kinds. These are the kind that are going to be on your board. And this is separate from the board. This is like what you're using to attack. You would like roll these and then see if you got a yin and yang. And each of these are like a hit, right, that you can do. And then there's the various symbols like this as well that you can possibly get. And then on the white die here, you have some kind of pals and a blink. And the black one here, you actually have armor symbol there. That's a bad symbol. Obviously, it's red. And then there's also the target here, which I want to say is like a crit. I want to say. But again, been a while since I had spoken to me. And I've not read the rulebook yet. I'll read the rulebook. I'll let you guys know when I actually play it, of course. Meanwhile, you have this, which can tell you how far you move, but then also has these little dice here, which will go in just like that. So these will kind of go in there. And this is actually a little bit smaller. And again, prototype, so I imagine they'll be whatever size they need to be or they want to be. But right now it's a little loose in there. But that's and then you can't quite fit it in there, which is nice. It's nice when the stuff doesn't fit where it doesn't belong. That's where the red gems would go. The first thing I showed you guys. Otherwise, these are just plain 6-sided die. I don't know if they plan any special die around this or not, like they already have here. Any custom symbols or anything like that. Let's look at some minis. Now, I told you guys that there's an exclusive here, and there is. But we're going to look at him last. So let's actually flip it this way, so I can grab it a little bit easier. Okay. And, oh my gosh. All right, come on. So the foam does grip the minis, of course, a little bit. And these are resin. I'll tell you that right now. All right, let's zoom in. Here we go. All right, so here you can kind of see, this is like a harpy. So sculpted base, first of all, which is much appreciated. And it's very kind of abstract, right? It's not like they sculpted leaves on here or anything. A little bit of posts that they'll push in. Obviously in the final one, this one is assembled differently and made differently than the ones we'll get. Sculpt wise, I like that she's actually looking to the right. I really appreciate it. So like that's kind of what she's looking at, like that, as opposed to that. Anytime that's the case, it's nice. The fingers nice and separated are good, and they show off the claws too. They are quite skinny. They might need to thicken up a little bit in the final print. The crown is an interesting touch. I would not have expected that. Sculpted hair does look different than the feathers. The feathers are a stylized feather, so it's kind of a basic feather shape with a little bit of a texture added to it. These lines here, or just like long triangles like this, as opposed to ones with the kind of edged siding, right, that zigzags in and out. And same here, same kind of stuff. I do like the difference between the skin and the scales. That's actually really nice to see. I think that looks really good. And yeah, all the facial features are there too, as you can see. So looks good. I dig it. And it looks like you get at least 3 of those. At least I did, for whatever that's worth. All right, then we have one of the ghosts. In here, it looks like they already put a little cap on there. Oh my gosh, which I may not want to remove. So I don't think I'm going to. But they have a little cap here as well. This is a printed cap. On top of that, so a lot of printed here. Different, this is just like a texture thing. This almost looks like the inside of a building. A very nice texture though. I love the kind of the square part of it. Instead of just being this texture, they actually added the kind of the overall pattern into it, which I actually appreciate. Flowing wise, I like that this is connected. I think that's pretty smart. This isn't too thick, which is nice. If it was any thicker, I might have a little fuss about it, but that seems to be pretty good. Again, she's looking to the side as well, right? So that's kind of, she's looking, and that's the front of her, which I appreciate. I have noticed both have their arm raised where they're looking. I don't know if that's kind of normal or not, but that's what they're doing. Connected here as well. This is a separate piece, at least in this print that they did. It kind of swirls. It almost, it's like it starts fabric, but then ends in kind of mist, which that's a cool thing to do as well. A nice line here where it's folded and with the little kind of taut lines there, and a little bit of a rope there too. It's a little faint right here, and almost it would be nice to enhance that a little bit. And the hair is styled different than the harpy as well. It's more of a general shape with the texture as opposed to strands. So something to keep in mind there. Finger-wise, very small hands, by the way. It's all true scale, so smaller hands, smaller head, neck, stuff like that. This is like the typical mitten hand. However, this one, they actually did separate 2 of the fingers. So it's just kind of like this, right? With a little bit of a separate, which I appreciate. It makes it seem more natural. I like seeing the thumb out and not just the mitten there. Having those 2 fingers we can move up like that, I think really, really helped the sculpt in general, my opinion. All right, so we got some heroes. Okay, here's the first look at one of the heroes. I do really appreciate, again, these connection points. So this is kind of connected to the arm here a little bit, but right now at least that's looking really good. And then connected there, but then it's blink there, which is very nice to see. And it's connected on the back as well. So nice and sturdy. This is like the only part that's kind of sticking out a little bit. And that's not too bad at all. And it's fairly thick too, but not like in a silly way. The hat is solid, so it's kind of more of a mushroom than a hat. But you're always going to look at it like that, in which case it looks fine. The strap on the chin looks good. I like that. This is very kind of tiny, delicate. I would be interested to see if the final version doesn't have that filled in. So there's that little kind of circle right there that I would suspect might end up filled in a little bit. Texture wise, this is a little bit more interesting, where there's like kind of a dehydrated, kind of sandstone rock kind of stuff. But there's also like this vine root thing coming out as well, and then more traditional dirt, which is interesting. For the feet wise, it doesn't look like they are on any kind of platform sandals or anything like that. It looks to me like his foot is just wrapped. That's kind of interesting as well. Again, this is not too thick, which I appreciate, and it is not just flat on the back, but does have a little bit of a sculpt there as well. And the fingers, actually ending at different points. So you have that kind of up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, I think is quite helpful for to make it not look just like a mint hand where it's perfectly like concave, right? Like part of a circle. So really appreciate that. It kind of gives it a sense of him just throwing this back behind him and thrusting out his hand while pushing back on this. Part of that is the angle of the feet, I think, and the whole, how this is a little more straight and this is angled out, but also his clothes are reacting to it, right? So his necklace in particular swirling to the side there, very nice to see. So really happy about that as well. All right, that's another ghost. Okay, we got some really these guys are creepy, by the way. Like I don't like these guys are weird. So they're busy eating people, as you can see. They are, it looks like, larger than life, perhaps because this chest here and this arm here is very skinny. It doesn't seem to be proportioned quite, like this seems small. Let me take the regular person out, but they don't really seem that much bigger, right? So that might be my first, I think, real major critique there is, at least to me, this seems like it's a kid, which would be kind of twisted, but also with the muscle definition and stuff like that, I don't think it's supposed to be. But it does seem quite a bit smaller than this guy. Like, it looks like this guy, his head could eat the whole torso of this guy, which is scary, but it makes this guy seem kind of pygmy. So that's probably my first feedback there. That being said, my goodness, this muscle definition is fantastic. Very well done. And again, I actually really like this base as well. I like the how it's always in a transition. So it's not just all this. There's this rock. There's a little bit of skull there, which again, that skull seems much smaller than his skull. And then almost like the sand here, by the looks of it as well. Very interesting sculpt design too, because it goes off of the mini base. Yet he's also like, what, 3 connection points, just the ends of his feet and his whole palm of his hand. So I don't have any mini in this pose, I can tell you that much. Really appreciate that. Even like the crease there, like just the hand is pretty good too. All the fingers are curved in a different way technically. Very nice. Yeah, the only thing I don't like is how small this person is. That doesn't seem to fit. Quite right, but you get 4 of those guys, and that's it for that little bit of a tray. There's plenty more. Okay, let's look at Tomo here. So here's Tomo. Very, very cool. I love, again, that they actually sculpted a log for her to step on so that she's now one with the base. She's not just sat there in like a frame, but it's said this is like part of a scene, and she's interacting with it. It allows her to kind of have a more dynamic and interesting visually sculpt, which is nice. The bow is right up against her pretty much the whole time. There is a little bit of a separation there. It'd be interesting to see if they have to fill that out. I would think they will, kind of like on the bottom here. But yeah, there's almost no gap here at all, which, considering, how these are going to be made, I am actually fine with, especially if it allows them to keep that skinny. The other alternative is to keep it away from the body and thicken that up a lot compared to how skinny it is. Right now, this is definitely the most fragile part right here at the end. No string. The quiver is really interesting because look at the little inlay there. I really like that. I like how it's not some fat quiver either. It's just this little slit of one. Very interesting. She's got her little sword there in case she needs to use it. The kind of armband kind of seam at the end of the cloth there is interesting. Lots of flowing here. It looks like she's got another quiver here, or a whole bunch of bolts anyway that are kind of clasped together by the looks of it, but are otherwise loose. It's kind of interesting. Also interesting, I think, that you would have 2 of them, unless this isn't a quiver but something else, but it looks like one to me. What the heck do I know? Again, a little crown thing, interesting. The feathers are cool because they're not all, see how normally you would put them like parallel, right? But these are actually going out the other way, so you get kind of this zigzag, ZX kind of shape, which is, I think, really welcome there. And the texture on there to separate them, which is indenting in between. Smart move as well. All right, here he is, the man, the myth, the legend. Love it. Again, very interesting pose. His bent knees, his kind of leaning in towards his front foot, which is kind of at an angle there. Almost, you can tell he's ready to swipe that out in one quick motion, step forward where this foot pulls up to this one in like a flash. And I love that. A very nice pose. Very, very good. You can even see these are pushed back as he kind of leans forward a little bit. Really, really like that. Obviously, the blindfold is super cool. Having the weapon sheathed and pointed up like that, with him grabbing the scabbard, and it looks like he even has it notched out a little bit. So if you see right there, he has, let me zoom out a little bit, make sure I stay on camera a little bit. All right, there you go. He has a little bit of the blade showing right here. So this will look great painted. Speaking of which, he does have a little bit of a symbol here that is sculpted on as well. And the hairband and stuff like that to keep the ponytail and all that. The different layers. So you have his skin, and then the under, and then the belt, and then the outer. Very nice also. And this, at least currently, is fairly separated, which is nice. It's not like completely flat onto him. Yeah, this is great. This looks really, really nice. I really like this one. Base-wise, again, it's a little bit different. So it has those squares, but it's a wood texture. But it's a very faint wood texture. I'm not sure. I mean, you can hear it. But I'm not sure this would really show up too much in like a wash, even right now. Nonetheless, in the final, this almost needs to, I think, be exaggerated a bit more to really kind of make it out looking great. Alright, so then we have one of the bad guys here. Again, he has both blades out, which is quite interesting. I would say this is actually a little bit of a 3D print because it looks like their posts are there as well. Armor-wise, though, it looks great. I love the different layers and kind of pieces of it, as well as kind of the thick, baggy, like, leggings and stuff like that. The two different sheaths with both blades out is very interesting. I really dig that. I like that it's bound by a rope belt. And then, of course, the big kind of horns and, you know, little flashes of armor and gilt and stuff like that. I think look really cool there as well. Base-wise, I like that there's like a basket here. I think that's kind of cool. I don't think it's been almost buried or whatever. And then there's these rocks, but I don't know what this is. Oh, it looks like a piece of armor of some kind, perhaps. And this is a rock. So kind of maybe a little bit difficult to see that. I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at there, but otherwise, looking good. Love the separation of the arm here. I love the casualness where he actually has his arm bent, laying the flat end of the blade down. Again, not looking straight, looking to the side, but then his torso slightly turned to accommodate that. Very, very nice. Looking good. All right, another one of them. Okay, here's another guy here. Okay, he has his blade tied again with a rope belt, which I dig. And it is like right in front, which is interesting. He does have a gun actually laying down here, which is, and no holster with the looks of it. So I guess he just tosses it when he takes this blade out or uses them both or whatever. The hair here, super, oh, come on. The hair here is super nicely sculpted, by the way. I really appreciate the sculpt design of the hair. That's very nice. And of course, the whole face mask is just cool in general. And again, using the base sculpted to kind of have a dynamic and interesting pose is also quite nice. Almost very confident of himself for sure, especially with the whole like kind of beckoning, you know, hello there kind of outreach there. Really like these, seeing these filled and spilled and stuff like that. That's super cool as well. All right, I went ahead and turned autofocus on or off, so hopefully that'll help out a little bit here. Sorry about that, guys. Texture-wise, by the way, I think this is a very interesting texture. It's different than all the other textures I saw on hair, which I think is quite welcome for sure to be able to really kind of differentiate a little bit as kind of this almost fuzziness. The transition between that and the skin looks good on the claws here and the kind of the paws. This sculpt design here is fantastic. I love it. Very nice. I like the layered rock effect. And again, gets a little bit higher here and lower there. There's a little bit of a stance, especially as it kind of lowers its head, mouth open, fangs out, tongue showing. Looks like the inside of the mouth is actually sculpted as well, which I do appreciate. And the little tiny ears and having those present, I think, are nice as well. Very interesting pose for sure. Definitely looks aggressive. All right, we also have one more player character here. So here he is. And yeah, I always thought this was cool that he has his blade and his scabbard out. So he actually took his scabbard out as well. I don't know if that's because he wants to use it as kind of like a blunt weapon, or that's just kind of how he unsheathed it in kind of one go. I'm not sure, but I do dig it. This billowing effect here, very nice. And I love that he's like on the roof. I think that's interesting as well. I get that, you know, he's going to be just as tall as everybody else and there may not be any roofs and it may not make sense. But in general, I like the whole ninja up at the very peak of a roof, unsheathing his blade real quick because he's about to jump or do whatever. And his armor set is also very cool. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Scorpion Mortal Kombat kind of thing, but maybe it's because I watched Mortal Kombat. I don't know. But I really like it. Very cool design. And especially, I think he'll stand out on that base quite well. Okay. Now for some big ones. This is kind of a mess, and it's not my fault. But let's actually start with this broken Undertaker here. So he would be like this. Okay, is how he would be. So just as an FYI, before I take him off. So base-wise, again, I really appreciate the little cemetery. Right, this will match the cemetery quite well, I think, with how flat it is here. But then also with a little OSO possibility with a lantern or something like that would look very nice, I think. Now, as for him, notice he actually has 4 arms, which I think is kind of interesting. So, first of all, it looks like he's holding something here. I can't quite tell. It almost looks like I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what he's holding there, but I don't think it's good. He's got like a little freaking cleaver. It's like the perfect thickness, I feel. It's not too skinny where it'll mess up in the final print, but not too thick where it looks silly either. Muscle definition, I think, is nice and smooth, not overdone, which I appreciate that there is a little bit of vein work and whatnot. His back 2 arms are the ones that are holding this. This is solid, and you can see the inside of this part a little bit. So it would have been nice to maybe make that go up slightly. I mean, on the table, you're not going to really see it, but if you pick them up, you're pretty much bound to see a little bit of that flat part there. So let's look on here, because we've never even seen the back of them. First of all, the rope looks very nice, very nicely textured. Same with the wood texture here is very nice. I appreciate that a lot. It looks like a lot of them are tied up by like their hair, which is kind of cool. I like the different style of people too. Is that like a tongue or something? Oh, that's freaking nasty. Definitely not the happiest group of heads ever. The shovel's kind of interesting too because it's one of those flat style shovels. And you can see it's kind of bound and tied up there as well. So overall, very cool design. I'll be sure to fix him, of course. All right, let's see. What else do we got? We got more of those guys. Okay, we have... Oh my goodness. Okay. The Oni here. Look at him. Oh my gosh. He is cool. Very cool. Love it. Okay, so a few things. Even the basing now is coming off the base, as you can see with the skeleton and rock here, which is super cool. Really, really dig that. Appreciate that a lot. Love the texture on the rock, by the way. I like a lot. As for the actual miniature itself, again, nice kind of separation here. Obviously, it'll have to be multi-piece, but I imagine they'll keep it that way. The thick kind of red tassels here look good. The armor looks great. I love the faces on the kneecaps. Always been a fan of that. I always thought that looked cool on Oni when they do that. The little tusks there just kind of add to it. There's also like flare here. I like that they added the cushioning underneath the armor. Nobody actually wears armor straight onto skin. That's a good way to chafe. The claws are nasty and I like that. You know, it could be pushed down a little bit more there. You know how things are. A little bit of chain work here. The chain, though, looks exquisite. Going to the back here, the hair is these big, long strands with these, like, kind of bobs and bells at the end, which is super cool to see. I like that. And it looks very separated, too, thanks to some inlays here. Be interesting to see if they can keep that, like, layer of separation and not have it blend too much in, like maybe the tip there kind of is. That's what we normally get. Okay, so as for this, he also has like these spikes coming out of him, which is, I think, interesting and definitely puts him a little bit more unique. And it's mostly, there's like one here, right? But mostly even on his head coming out on the side here. It's a little asymmetrical there, which is very interesting because it also matches, I think, the blade. Speaking of the blade and his positioning on it, notice he's a little bit farther back on the base. Again, angled a little bit and then turned even a little bit more. And with his face also, again, if this is straight, notice he's not looking at the camera. Only when I turn it that way is. So he's definitely aimed at where he's putting his blade. Very much appreciate that. Very ornate work here, which is nice. Very defined fingers around all of it, which is very good. I especially like how the claws are not attached to it. Inlay here, but all the detail is actually quite obvious, right? The only issue is sometimes when they raise it instead of imprint it like this, painting the side there can be kind of difficult, one color or another. That being said, I would have to reference the art, but I don't believe these are two separate colors. I think it may just be a texture within gold or whatever. Either way, the blade itself, the angle here looks good. The overall shape looks good. The size of it's awesome, of course. I like the end of it here. His teeth showing are awesome. He does have a little bit of an eye in the forehead there, which hopefully you can see quite well. Yeah, overall super cool. Really dig it. He's got the kind of the big necklace that's fairly typical there, but still a lot of skin showing as well. Even with this kind of armor that he has, and that face here is killer, of course, too. Very, very cool. He's awesome. I really like him. But there's more. You guys may have seen this fella. So here is one of the, like, demons riding a demon head, essentially, at this point. Not the one where it's a floating demon head, but notice this is, like, the head of a demon, and this demon is, like, stabbing it, like, driving it in like that. Super cool. I love the cracked wing here, by the way. I think that looks killer. Super awesome. I really, really do like that a lot. It's not just holes, but it's actually a whole, like, tear, which is super neat. Big claws, even on the end here. It looks like the print messed up a little bit here, probably on the supports. It should be curved in like that, so don't worry about that too much. Or just bent somehow or something, but it looks like it just messed up a little bit there, perhaps. Texture on the skin is very interesting texture. I kind of dig that. And that's like all throughout. And there's like these ribs here. And again, spikes and shoulder pads coming out of them and stuff. Huge horns. It looks like he's definitely like menacing. He's got the big ear. And then again, this whole thing here is super fascinating. It's got these big old horn things here. You can see the big ear there. You can see the neck even. Just kind of killer. And then he's like on this cliff that's also textured. Again, I don't have any mini like this. And I always appreciate when I have unique sculpts that are different. Different than anything I have. This is one of a kind. I don't have anything else like this. And I much prefer it that way, of course. It does look to me like there might be a bit of a primer on this. And that's kind of how it feels too. But actually, yeah, I would say so. Because see how it's like lighter here? So that's where the primer didn't quite touch. So this has a gray primer on it. And this is why also it's a separate color, as you can see, between the two as well. So FYI on that. But oh man, yeah, this looks awesome. Love it. The wings coming out, how kind of thick the connection point is there. It looks nice. Very extended before it's like, look how big this skinny part is before it gets to the bigger part. And then again, there's a little bit of a mess up here as well. You can kind of see a little bit there too. Very interesting. Very cool. Now, here is the last one. It does look a little broken, so I might glue it and show you. It depends on how good I can get it, but this is something nobody has seen before, including me. I'll be interested to see how this starts up. It starts with a pig, though, so that's exciting. So let's see where this goes. All right, hopefully it's not... Oh, it is broken. I may have to glue it a little bit. Okay. You know what I'll do? I'll actually glue it real quick. I'm going to pause the video. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I've built a few of them, and I also forgot to show you the Kappa. So let's go ahead and take a look at him. Zoom in just a little bit. As you can see, different than the Mario Kappa. I actually really like the kind of spiky shell. I think that's pretty cool. And he's really tall and lanky with a beak. definitely more of a creepy Kappa, which is, I think, part of the course for most of this stuff. And again, a much different base. Seems kind of murky, right? Kind of muddy as his feet go in there and stuff like that. And there's this kind of weird growth stuff here. So yeah, really digging this one as well. Again, I think the style, it seems weird, but like that fits everything. And he also has his kind of hole in his head, which they all have. I'm sure that has to do with the lore somehow, but heck if I know how. They're all flat-headed. Now here is the Undertaker. I just glued him, so apologies if he does kind of come off his feet. And his lantern here should be kind of angled out a little bit, like he's walking with it in front of him. The nice thing about seeing him built is you can kind of get a size difference just between those guys. And yeah, I shouldn't be leaning him. He still needs to dry a little bit. We'll see. Okay. And for the big Mama Jamma, I didn't have all the pieces for him, but you can get a sense. And again, size-wise, yeah, there's a big difference. So let's zoom out a little bit more actually for him and take a look at what we have. So on this side, you can see a more complete picture. Here is a intact lantern with this kind of connection piece here. I am missing the connection piece here. I looked and looked. I didn't see it in the foam anywhere, but whatever. And then I had to glue this lantern on. It's missing one of its legs, so just FYI. And I think there's a missing spot right here as well. So apologies for that. But other than that, I think this is it. So here is this guy. Again, he's part of an expansion of some kind, but you know the whole blood for the blood god, skull for the skull throne? Well, here is the skull throne. So he's literally sitting on a throne of skulls, which is really, really cool. And he's got like these, like that looks like a Kappa's face. That being said, if it is, the size difference is huge. So this is again one of those things where the size is kind of interesting, though as demons and as Oni are already larger, it could just be I may just be thinking it's a Kappa when it's not. But it does have a beak of some kind. The dragon here, by the way, these dragons are like lizards on the side that are holding the lanterns by their tails. Super cool. I also really like this bone kind of guardrail here that he has going on. I think that's also very neat. The pig is very interesting. Very cool texture on his armor with the inlays, kind of like the sword of the other Oni, and then even some like stars and stuff. We got the face knees, though just on this one is unadorned. And we got the thing here, pierced nipples, a beard, which I really dig the beard. I'm down with that. Kind of a crown of some kind-ish, made out of horns, from his horns. The bottom, by the way, if you can see that, is also like a rib cage, which is, I think, very cool. Looking at the back, you see he's got this shield with a whole bunch of spikes, and then again, the rope holding those heads up there, and more skulls of all different shapes and sizes. And you can see the bottom there again. And as you can see, he's walking through this nasty mud, with this pig chariot thing going on. Very cool. Looking at the pig's face here, again, you can kind of see there is a sculpted tongue. The inside of the mouth is not sculpted. And they have these tusks coming out, these very defined teeth here that are almost human-like in a creepy way. A little bit of hair tufts, but for the most part, smooth-skinned. Even some kind of design elements there as well. And then coming over here, you can see kind of how it's attached. There's a few supports still there, as you can see from the 3D print. Just it is what it is. But anyway, so this is that big old base. Whole lot of mud that it's trekking through. You can even see the where it's been wheeled, which is a nice touch. You can kind of see that. So it's been going through and it'll keep going through. I actually really dig that. And again, skulls all throughout here as well. Holding out his charge, kind of best impression there. Very, very interesting sculpt. Again, nothing I have is similar to that at all. I do not have some pudgy bearded Oni demon on a skull throne being drawn by a weird undead pig thing. So yeah, that's new for me. And here, let's go and put, so like here's the other Oni. Again, even the regular Oni, size-wise, right? This is kind of the range of sizes that you have, right? I mean, quite the selection of sizes. And then here's little you attacking them all. So good luck with that. Alright guys, that is Harakiri, at least the prototype version that I have. I will get to be playing this. I will review this. If you want to see that review and you are not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss it, so you can hear my thoughts on it going into the campaign, so you can back with confidence knowing it's a good fit for you or not. So with that out of the way, if you have any questions, let me know, of course, and I'll talk to you guys again real soon. Bye guys.